Hi guys, my name is Kayla and I am Kuddled Up. Today we are going to be doing something really fun. I love playing in cast, not much of a builder, but I love making some Sims. So we are going to actually jump into cast today and do a cast challenge. You guys are going to see what it is in 2 seconds, but I'll just give you a fun little hint. Divorced. Bump, bump. Beheaded. Bump, bump. Died. Here we are. We have found ourselves in cast. For those of you wondering what the divorced, beheaded, died was in reference to, I am a big fan of being cuddled up and playing video games. I am also, fun fact, a big fan of history. I really enjoy history. So that was a reference to, is actually a reference to the musical 6. 6 is a musical that is all about Henry VIII's 6 wives. And it kind of is a retelling of their stories from their point of view, which I really, really love. The music is phenomenal. Check it out for sure if you haven't yet. But it inspired me to do this cast challenge. And I realize now like we're just staring at somebody in their underwear right now. So awkward. It inspired me to do this challenge, this cast challenge, if you will. And we are going to be doing Henry VIII's 6 wives. We're going to do a modern take on Henry VIII's 6 wives. So I've done a little bit with some of them already. We're just going to do the first 3 of them today. Just have fun, hang out. So this is Catherine of Aragon. She was Henry VIII's first wife, very first one. And this is Anne Boleyn. So she was Henry VIII's second wife. And then we have Jane Seymour. She was Henry VIII's third wife. So I will show you guys a little bit of what I've done with these guys already. I did already pick their like skin details, but I can show you for sure. So let's start with Catherine. So for her skin details, I gave her this Bright Blends. This second one here, you can see what she looks like without it. And then it just adds a little kind of pop there, which is nice, smooths everything out. I gave her lashes. I always give all my Sims lashes. I gave her a little bit more of a subtle lash because Catherine was a very, she was a very regal queen. She was very well liked by the people of England from everything I read. By the way, guys, when I'm talking about some of this stuff, just know I enjoy history. I read about history. I am not a history major. That is not part of like my expertise. So if I say something that's incorrect, absolutely let me know in the comments below. But be nice. Okay, so Catherine of Aragon, she was really well liked by the people of England. She came from royalty, so she was very, I'm trying to think of the right word, but elegant. Elegant is probably the right word. She was very elegant. She's like kind of classic, what you would think of a queen during that time period. I gave her a little bit of blush. It looks like some of the Boo Boo blush. I gave her some highlighter. I give all my Sims this highlight. I love it. So if I take that off, you can kind of just see how much it adds. It just adds some dimension to her face, which is really nice. I also, it looks like, gave her some of, I'm not sure what this is called, to be honest with you, but I'll show you what it does. If I take it off, you can kind of see again, it just adds a little bit more depth and dimension to her face, which I quite like. I quite enjoy that. For her hair, I have tons of CC hair. Tons of CC hair. I'll just show you really quickly. If I showed you all the hairs I have, we'd be here for forever. But I love Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is probably my favorite CC hair, and that's the one she got. So I wanted to give Catherine of Aragon long hair, but I also kind of wanted it to be long and straight. Again, like I'm going for, I think, a little bit of like modern day businesswoman with her, or like a very elegant kind of look, kind of in that range. I feel like Catherine was very smart from everything I've read about her. She was also very regal, like I said. That is the hair I went with. She did have like a reddish tint to her hair, so I gave her more of like the auburn type hair. Let's start looking for some outfits for her. This is kind of, I think, the fun part. I am going to just search within my CC, I think, to see what we can get for her. And maybe while I'm looking, I might jump back and forth between talking about like the look I'm looking for her. And then also we can talk a little bit about Catherine of Aragon if anybody here is interested in history like I am. What do I know about Catherine of Aragon? So she originally is from Spain. It was before Spain. So during this time period, it was before Spain was an actual country. Like it wasn't called Spain. It was a bunch of little broken up territories or I want to say provinces, but I don't know if that's the right word. But Aragon was one of them. It was a big chunk of them. And her parents were the king and queen of that particular territory. So she came from royalty. Ooh, this is very cool. Oh, and it's like a little, like I like the lace underneath of it too. This is Rimmings. They're one of my favorite CC clothing creators. Their stuff is so pretty. I'll keep telling you guys why I'm going with like businesswoman or elegant vibes for Catherine. So her marriage to Henry was very much a business arrangement from everything I have read. They wanted to join these two places. So England really wanted to get the favor of Aragon. Of course, Aragon really wanted to get the favor of England because they were a powerhouse at the time. Fun fact is that Catherine was actually married to Henry's older brother first. And his name is escaping me at the moment. But she was first married to Henry's older brother. It's very interesting that she would then marry Henry. What happened actually, ooh, let's check this out. Oh, this is so pretty. What was I saying? Okay, so she married Henry's older brother. They were married for a little less than a year. And back then there was like this whole weird thing with like consummating the marriage, right? They always said, Henry's older brother and Catherine always said, of course, they consummated the marriage. But then Henry's older brother died. And as soon as he died, Catherine, my dog is squeaking a toy. Charlie, they can probably hear that. What was I saying? So as soon as Henry's older brother died, Catherine immediately said, no, we never consummated the marriage. And this is also very important in the history story of Henry VIII, she was a devout Catholic, as was the area of Spain she came from at that time period. And England was still Catholic, right? This was back when like religion was a really big player in the game of politics, especially the Catholic Church. She got basically a very high up like bishop. I don't think it was full blown pope, but she got a very high up bishop to say, yes, she's right. The marriage was never consummated, which is how she was then able to turn around at that time period and marry Henry. Wild, wild times. Okay, let's go back to talking about clothes in The Sims 4. So I really want to see like what can we find for her that's like modern but also businessy? Oh, that's kind of cute. And look, it's got little crowns on it. Okay, wait, we could be onto something. Is that too much? Well, certainly that's too much. What if we did these pants? Oh, these pants are really cute with this. Also, the other thing you guys are going to maybe find throughout this video is that I'm a fraud in the sense that like I'm actually not good with fashion at all. I don't really know what I'm doing. What about just a tight long skirt? So if at any point in this video you're like, no girl, that doesn't go with that. Yeah, I believe you because fashion has never really been my thing. I love a crew neck. You know, you guys always see me in crew necks. That's because I always wear crew necks. Like if I'm just chilling, best believe I'm wearing a crew neck. I like this though. I said from the beginning, she gave me like black vibes. Black to me is very elegant. And then I like the little crowns on this. Okay, let's pick a shoe for her. If you ever want to remember what happened to each of Henry VIII's wives, a way to do that in a way that like history teachers teach it and they use it in the musical 6 is you go divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. That's how you remember what happened to each one of them. I think we definitely have to give her heels. Sorry, I'm all over the place. That might just kind of be how this video is because I'm jumping around from like two things I love. I love being in cast and then I also really like talking about history. I definitely nerd out over it. But we already established, was a devout Catholic, as was Henry, to be honest, and England until Anne Boleyn comes along. Well, her and Henry's relationship really kind of falls apart, and he wants to divorce her, Catherine, to be with Anne Boleyn. And Catherine never recognizes this. So up until the day that Catherine of Aragon dies. So they do eventually end up getting divorced, and it gets recognized, never by the Catholic Church, to be honest, but that's why they break from the Catholic Church. England ends up breaking from the Catholic Church so that Henry can get this divorce from Catherine. But she never recognizes it. She would sign her letters until the day she died as Catherine, Queen of England, which is kind of a baller move, to be honest. Like, she basically, which is why her song in the musical 6 is called No Way. She's basically like, you don't just get to toss me aside. I've been royalty for my entire life. You don't get to do this. And she lives her whole life believing that she is Queen of England, even after she has really kind of lost all her power and goes into exile. But yeah, all of these stories end sadly, by the way. I'll just preface that right now. Okay, but let's get Catherine some shoes. Do these work, you guys? Somebody tell me, because I think they kind of look amazing with this, but does it look dumb to have a high ankle shoe with a skirt? Perhaps, especially like in the black swatch, but I also really am enjoying the brown swatch. I'm not going to lie. It adds like a little pop. It gives it a little something, and I really want to pick it. If I pick it, are you going to be mad? Is it bad? Is it a weird fashion choice? Might be a weird fashion choice. I'm heckin' going for it. I think this is going to be our Catherine. She looks like, she would marry in a business arrangement and she'd kill it. And she would be an amazing queen, which, to be clear, Catherine was. Catherine was a good queen from everything I've read. And the people loved her, which is important when we talk about Anne Boleyn. The people really liked Catherine. Okay, I like her. I think she turned out really cool. So let me just show you guys what I gave her for her traits over here. So I did say that Catherine wants to have a successful lineage. Fun fact is she does have a daughter with Henry VIII. Her name is Mary, and she goes on to be Queen of England for a short period of time. I think somebody's got to check me if I'm wrong on this, but I think shortly before Queen Elizabeth, who's another one of Henry's daughters, goes on to become queen. I did give her the genius, loyal, and then proper traits. Henry was a cheater. He was a dirty, dirty cheater. And Catherine was the start of that. And she knew about a lot of it because a lot of them were her ladies in waiting. So you can't tell me she didn't know about it. But she kind of kept his secrets. She stayed with him. She stayed by him. And for that, she gets the loyal trait, even though he didn't deserve that. Let's move on to Miss Anne Boleyn. So I'll show you guys what I gave her for skin details here. She got this overlay. I can show you what she looks like without it. And then if we pop it back on, I did look at pictures. I didn't say this either, but I did look at pictures of these guys and tried to kind of make their faces similar. I'm not going to say the same. I don't know if I did that good of a job, but similar to what they look like in some pictures that I looked up. I gave her big dream girl lashes. So she got these because Anne Boleyn was extra from everything I've read about her. She was an extra queen. Gave her some blush here, and I probably could have even given her like a more dramatic blush, and I think I'm going to. She, of course, got the highlight. I gave her some of this face light and pores. I'll show you guys what that does. So if I put this back on, just another thing that adds brightness, depth, dimension. And then her hair, Anne Boleyn's hair, is again another Nightcrawler hair. This is one of their newer hairs. I love it with the little buns. I picked this one for her because I wanted to give a little bit more of like a flirty, cute, fun hair for Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was a rebel for her time. She was considered very outspoken for a woman. She was very well educated. She grew up in the French court. Oui, oui, bonjour. That's how her song starts in 6, the musical. But she grew up in the French court. So she grew up there, which is why she some felt in England she was maybe a little bit more outspoken. They felt like her style was a little bit different. The way she spoke, she loved to dance, she loved art, all those things like that. She wasn't quite as traditional, certainly not as traditional as Catherine would have been. So she was a totally different kind of queen and a totally different person to what Catherine was. This is Anne. Let's start looking at some outfits for her. Again, we talked about Anne is very fun. She's flirty. She's new, fresh, young, right? That's kind of the vibe I want to go for. So I want to give her something a little bit more fun. We can, while we're searching for an outfit, talk about how Anne became Queen of England over Catherine. So Anne was, if I am remembering this correctly, one of Catherine's ladies in waiting. And her family, Anne Boleyn's family, was a prominent family. They were a wealthy family. They sat in court, I believe. They held positions in court, but they weren't like regal. They weren't kings and queens. She went to French court. They sent her there to kind of get raised and learn things. And then she came back to England and ended up being one of Catherine's ladies in waiting. It is kind of said or alluded to that her father and her uncle really pushed her towards Henry because they knew Henry would step out on his wife. And even being the king's mistress at that time put you in a position of power, as sad as that is. That's kind of how the story goes. Anne was, from, again, everything I've read, pretty smart. And she really would tell Henry in letters and through little flirtations that she, didn't want anything to do with him, but in a flirty way, unless he was going to marry her. And Henry, being the fickle man that he is, eventually decides he is going to marry her and he is going to do something about it. This is also probably partnered with the fact that Catherine was not having any more children, which at the time would have been a really big deal. Henry was frustrated with that. He really wanted an heir for the throne. Ooh, this is really cute. We could do something fun with this. Or there's really fun patterns in here. I love this. Gosh, yeah, I just don't know what I want to do with her. I think we have to look a little bit more, but this is fun. This one's really cute. That could be an option or a contender. And now I always forget what I was saying. Oh, so he really wanted Catherine out at that point. And he really liked Anne from all the letters that you read. He was really into her. And this is what's crazy to me about all of this stuff is that this was a huge moment in history. And I think that's why it's talked about, to the extent that it is. At the time period, it was crazy for this guy to have had 6 wives, of course. But also there's this huge political, cataclysmic event that happens because one guy, the King of England at the time, wanted to bang down with a different girl than his wife. And you get this huge, again, cataclysmic political event that happens, which is that at the time, England was Catholic. They were very aligned with the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church, of course, did not at the time recognize divorce. It wasn't going to happen. They were never going to agree to that. So Henry basically went behind the Catholic Church's back and said, no, I am divorcing this woman. And if you're not going to recognize it, I am going to declare myself supreme head of the Church of England. And they went Protestant. They completely flipped everything. And they said, okay, we're no longer associated with the Catholic Church. So you now have a king who has all the power, political power of being a king, and then has all now the religious power, which again, at the time, you got to remember was a really big deal, declaring himself, basically just being guess what, Pope? I'm supreme head of the Church of England. I can do whatever I want. That was really what happened. It was really him being I can do whatever I want and no one can tell me otherwise. And I'm just going to grab all this power because I don't want to be married to my wife anymore. Wild stuff, you guys. Okay, so he does that and then he divorces Catherine of Aragon. They exile her and he marries Anne Boleyn. Boom, boom, bang, that quickly it happens. I don't know why I put these pajamas on I got so distracted. Okay, let's go back. Let's go look for, maybe we do a top pants set. Oh, this is very cute. I feel like I have to put some pants on you. I feel like YouTube is going to get mad at me or demonetize this video or something if I keep showing Sims without clothes. Okay, something like this would be really cute. Like we just go like full 70s with it. Like she's a free spirit. Wait, this is so cute. Okay, wait. I love this. Because we go from like, I love this because look at the contrast. We go from like Catherine of Aragon, posh, killing it, elegant, to Anne Boleyn, fun, fresh, flirty, free spirit. Okay, I'm in. I'm sold. I'm sold on it. I'm in. And then we have to give her makeup. But I'm really digging this look for her, this like 70s vibe. Okay, let's check her makeup out. While we're looking at makeup, so we talked about Anne Boleyn. One of my favorite lines of hers in the musical 6 is when she goes, "I'm that Boleyn girl and I'm up next. See, I broke England from the church. Yeah, I'm that sexy." I love it. I love it when she says that because she is 1,000% right. She was that sexy that she got this man to completely break a power gradient that had existed for a very long time at that time period. So you got to give it to her. The interesting thing about Anne Boleyn, and the unfortunate thing, the reason it was probably so easy for Henry to get her beheaded at the end of their relationship when it starts to go bad, is that she was never really well liked by the English people. She was always kind of seen as somebody who came in and took over for Catherine. There was a lot of people who didn't recognize this change, and even if they didn't voice it verbally, because at the time it would have been a scary thing to do that, they still had loyalties to the Catholic Church, and she was really kind of seen as this like harlot. And later on, when she gets beheaded, one of the that's really pretty. One of the cases that Henry makes for beheading her is that she bewitched him, right? That like she somehow bewitched him into making all these decisions. And yeah, they cry witchcraft a little bit with Anne Boleyn, which is really annoying and very sad, honestly, that it's that easy, was that easy to do that to a woman at that time. And oh my gosh, you guys, I'm a complete doofus head. She has to wear green. I already said that, and it is just 1,000% true because that's her whole thing. Gorgeous. Okay, hang on a second. Now we have to do it. Does this shirt come in a green? Oh, there. That one's green. I kind of love her. Yes, Anne Boleyn. I'm a little biased anyway, to be honest. Anne Boleyn is her song in 6. It's called Don't Lose Your Head. It's funny. It's ironic because she does lose her head. Let's see what Anne Boleyn, what did I pick for her aspiration? We said she wants to be a musical genius because she was known to love music and love dancing. And before she ever got into politics, it sounds like those were things that were really her passions. She is an art lover. She is creative. And then I also said she is outgoing because she was known to be kind of the life of the party, Anne Boleyn. She does get beheaded. So in the way to remember, there was divorced. That's Catherine of Aragon. Beheaded. That is Anne Boleyn. She gets beheaded. Unfortunately, she also is not able to have a ton of kids. Past her daughter is Queen Elizabeth. So she does have a daughter with Henry, and her name is Elizabeth. She goes on to be the Queen Elizabeth. She is the Queen Elizabeth that the movies are made about. She was one of the first really great female rulers. Queen Elizabeth doesn't actually ever get married. She never has any children of her own either, but she is known to be one of the greatest rulers of England, one of the greatest monarchs of England. And I just think it is sweet, sweet karma and so funny that Henry VIII, this man who beheaded women for not giving him male heirs, who divorced women, treated women like crap, has a daughter who goes on to be more famous than he is and known as one of the best rulers of England ever. Like, it's just chef's kiss, pure history karma. You gotta love it. Let's then move on to Jane Seymour, the only one he truly loved, or that's what they say in the play. So this is Miss Jane Seymour. She did have blonde hair. She did have blue eyes. I'll show you guys what I gave her for skin details. She got the Jaded. If I take that off, I can show you what that one does. This one is honestly pretty subtle. Again, just kind of smooths things out a little bit. We gave her some eyelashes. I kept her eyelashes pretty wispy. She is usually described as being very simple looking, is how she is described. She's very meek. She's very meager. She's very quiet. So again, very different from both Catherine of Aragon and also from Anne Boleyn. I gave her a little bit of blush. I gave her some of the same highlight. I also gave her this dimension or whatever we want to call it. Her hair is an Anto hair. It is this one right here. Another CC hair creator that I absolutely love. I wanted to give her kind of more of a classic girly girl type hair because those are kind of the vibes I get from her. She is not, I'm going to do her makeup first because I know that she is not going to wear a lot of makeup and it's not going to be very dramatic makeup at all if we even do any. And maybe we do just give her a little something, like even that maybe. Gloss might be okay, just to give her a little something on her lip. Let's do that. A little pretty plain, pretty simple. But again, that's how she's usually described in what I have read about her. Let's search for an outfit. Now, even today, if we think of her as being a little bit more meek, a little bit more meager, we probably want to dress her in something a little bit more traditional, if you will. While we're looking, let's talk about Jane Seymour. So Jane Seymour, everybody's going to be shocked by this, but was one of Anne Boleyn's ladies in waiting. Seems to be a bit of a pattern here. But that's way too bold. She was one of Anne Boleyn's ladies in waiting. She was one of her friends from the way it is described. And there is some debate that I've heard about Jane Seymour. She's not as well educated as either Catherine or Anne Boleyn were. So some people think, she was just this sweet girl, right, that was thrown into, caught King Henry's eye, which at the time would have been terrifying, right? She probably just saw Anne Boleyn get beheaded, or she saw the writing on the wall of what was about to happen to her. She knew that she had been his mistress at one time. So to be honest, if you caught Henry's eye at that time, it was probably scary as heck for you as a woman. But there's some thought that she was just very sweet, that she didn't know, this is cute too, what was going, actually I really love this. This is a for sure contender, especially like that one or that one, maybe that one. Okay, let's keep looking. Let's keep that in mind. And that she kind of just went and did what she had to do, right? There's also another train of thought that she was smarter than people gave her credit for, and that she was perhaps happy that this was happening to Anne Boleyn and she was going to get to move up in the world. But nobody really knows, to be honest, what the truth is except for her. By all accounts, and I feel mean saying this a little bit, but from everything I've read, again, way too bold, she's pretty boring, to be honest. She's not super interesting. Her song in 6 is called Heart of Stone, and I think it's a good one for her. She gets a ballad in 6. And basically they talk a lot about how she is the only wife Henry had that gets a proper burial. She's also the wife that Henry is buried next to. She does give him a son. That son dies, I think, when he is a teenager at some point, which is how Jane Seymour dies, is she dies after childbirth. She dies after complications from childbirth, and then she ends up passing away. He mourns her longer than he's ever mourned any of his other wives. Sorry, I gotta focus. We're looking for like girly, traditional type clothing for her. I'm confused about how I feel about her. Other than that, I think she's kind of boring. I like her song in 6 that she sings, the ballad. She talks a lot about how she stands by Henry and, you know, the sadness of her getting sick after childbirth. And I'm sure, like we said, it was very scary for her to have seen those things happen to Catherine and then to Anne. And what do, you know, as a woman during that time period? That would be very difficult. This is very cute. Okay, I just found this one. I think I just added it not too long ago. It's by Mysterious OO, and I just think it's too perfect. Like, look at this. Like, it's so girly and like, yeah, I think it's way too perfect. So I think we are going to go with this one. But okay, we got to find some cute. She would definitely have like cutie shoes. I thought about the shoes a bit. Honestly, this took me longer than I'd care to admit, but I think this is where I landed with the shoe. Kind of simple, maybe like a tish of sparkle and like a little, but like a chunkier heel. But I think that is going to be Jane Seymour. Again, classic, girly. Let's take a peek at her aspiration. I gave her the soulmate one, which I think is perfect for her. I said that she's family orientated. Now, what else do we think she is? How about we do like neat makes sense? It sounds like she, kept a nice castle for a Henry. I was going to say house, but like castle's probably more appropriate. I landed on, okay, we're going to give her the maker trait because she was known to do, I think it was like she did a lot of needlework, crafty type stuff like that, which Henry actually picked up a little bit after she died, which was interesting. I thought of a couple things that I forgot to tell you about Jane. I feel like I've been kind of hard on her as we've been doing her makeover, but Jane actually, if I'm remembering correctly, was the one of Henry's wives who got him back in touch with his daughters. So both Catherine's daughter Mary and then Anne's daughter Elizabeth. She made it a point to build the relationship with those two, to bring them to court. So maybe that's a point in her favor of being good and just kind of being a victim of her circumstances versus actively seeking out political power and gain at the expense of her friends. But that's where I'm going to end it. We're just going to do the first three. If you guys like this video, we can definitely do the other three. So this is our Jane Seymour to give you guys one last look. This is our Anne Boleyn. Again, give you one last look at her. And then this is our, and then this is our Catherine of Aragon to give you one last look at her. Definitely let me know in the comments below, you guys, which of these three is your favorite. Mine, I'm going to be honest, is probably Anne Boleyn, but I'm also a little biased because she's my favorite in the musical 6 as well. But let me know in the comments down below which one is your favorite. Also, let me know, did you like this style of video? This was my first time doing anything just in cast, no gameplay. And also, if you enjoyed kind of talking through the history of it as we did it, I'm combining two loves of mine. So please let me know if it was boring, if you're not really interested in seeing content like this anymore, or if you loved it and you'd like to see more of it. I'm super happy to do that too and continue to bridge two worlds that I love, history and The Sims 4. And I will see you on the next video. Bye!